If you're watching this video, then that means you're on the hunt of getting rich at a much sooner age than the status quo that everything else portrays in normal society of getting a job, working it for 6 years, and then retiring with, a few million dollars and a golden watch and retiring when you have no energy and slaving away at a career for a very long time. And so inside of this video, I'm going to talk about how to become a millionaire in your 20s. I made my first $1 million at the age of 23. And now I make multiple millions of dollars every single year. And right now I'm only 25. And so like everything that I'm going to be talking about inside of this video are going to be things that I have gone through myself. Things that I have self-discovered, and then I'm hopefully going to help you accelerate the career or help expedite the process of you getting to where you're making millions of dollars at a much younger age. So that way you don't have to wait like a lot of these people saying to invest your money into these stock accounts or into real estate and waiting a very long time until you're able to actually enjoy your money, and if not at all, and having to live a very frugal life. And so it's not going to be saving your Starbucks or not buying Starbucks and making coffee at home. It's not going to be making your own avocado toast or anything like that. But instead, it's going to be about applying things we're going to be talking about inside this video that'll help accelerate everything for you. For me, specifically, I went to college. I was supposed to be a cog in the machine and help build someone else's equity inside of a business. By originally for me, I was wanting to I was going to school for computer science, and I was wanting to be a software developer for a company like an Amazon or a Google or something like that. And what I realized is that I was not going to, like, I was going to make good money, but I wasn't going to become rich anytime soon. And even when I would become rich, I wasn't going to be able to really do my own thing. And I wasn't going to have what is known as freedom, which is being able to do what you want, when you want, wherever you want. And right around the time of when I was finishing up school, I started seeing all these people on social media living this life of freedom without having to kind of go through this experience. And so that kind of really rewrapped my brain around of or changed my perspective of what is wealth, what is becoming rich, what is it that I wanted. And I realized that what I wanted wasn't to work for a very long time. And in fact, it was I wanted to work hard, but also be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor and kind of have the freedom to do what I want. And so these principles I'm talking about inside of this video are going to help set you apart from everybody else and put you on a trajectory of getting to where you're a millionaire way faster. And so the first one is I love this law that is called Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law states that the work fills the time that we give it. And you can hear this similarly with like different quotes from someone like Elon Musk, where he says, if you say you're going to do something in 10 years, it's probably going to take you 10 years. But if you say something that's going to take 6 months, it's probably not going to get done in 6 months, but it's going to happen a lot faster than the otherwise. And so the main thing is setting a target and setting a target in a scope of time that there is some fire or some energy behind it, or some momentum, some movement, some excitement, some motivation, shall we say, to do it at a much faster pacing than otherwise. And so, obviously, this isn't about setting it ungodly expectations that just don't even make sense, but instead, it's about understanding that things that you had in mind originally can happen significantly faster than what you that you conceived previously. And so first thing is just understanding that you can get rich at a young age and setting it up at the forefront of your mind and your perspective of understanding that you can get rich soon. And so there's this thing called RAS, the reticular activating system. And this is a system inside of our brains that when we start setting our intentions of thinking of things, we will start seeing opportunities pop up for the thing being done. And so as an example, I'm in the process of buying my first nice watch. And while I'm like beforehand, I didn't really, I didn't really understand, like really give a shit about watches or really care about them. But now that I'm in this kind of state of wanting to buy a watch, now that I've made a ton of money, now that I'm in the hunt for buying a watch, I'm finding opportunities left and right of different ways of buying watches and what I want and what is kind of out there and what excites me. And now the actual opportunity of buying a watch is becoming a reality as I am getting a lot better of an understanding of what it is that I want, what color I want, what I want it to look like, very specific, and then working towards what are the ways of getting that. Because, a lot of these watches that you want to buy, you can't just go walk into a store and buy them. They don't sell them to you. They're all sold out of these watches. And so you have to go through a process and through a system or, find ways around the system where you pay more money or et cetera. And so, it wasn't until that I wanted to start buying a watch that I realized, the process. And so it's same when it comes to making money. If you say that, you want to go through the system and be successful in the system, you're only going to see the sea of opportunities within the system. And so if you've grown up with your parents, working a job and their entire lives, and you are trying to be rich, you know, you're very limited to the scope of that mindset versus if instead you just start putting it on the forefront of your mission and where you're shooting for, that you want to become rich at a younger age or a much faster pace, instead of let's say like in 40, 60 years or so, instead in 5 years, in a much faster pace, then you'll start kind of seeing opportunities that pop up that'll allow for you to become rich a lot faster. And when you start scrolling through the internet, you'll start seeing these things. You'll start liking posts about money. You'll start watching videos about money and how to make it faster. And as you engage with this content, as you like it more, as you become, more aware of this substance, more content that is similar to this is going to start showing up, and you'll start seeing a sea of information of content of how to get rich a lot faster. A lot of like, if you were to see my social media versus probably your social media, you'll see that my social media is just purely people talking about, it's not about how to make your first $5,000 a month or your first $10,000 a month. When you look at my social media, it's about dudes making $30 million in the span of 18 months and how they went and did it. And I'm seeing these opportunities everywhere because that is on the forefront of my mind. And that is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at how to make a lot of money at this point. Right now, my mission, I'm trying to get it to where I have made over $10 million in the next couple of years and, have 8-figure a year income before the age of 30. And so right now I'm looking for all these opportunities that satisfy that. And if I wanted bigger numbers, then obviously I would start, seeing the opportunities left and right as I kind of put that on the forefront of my RAS. And so the first principle really, like I said, is understanding that you want to set what is the target and what is the goal that we are working towards here. And over time, as things go on, the things you consume and just kind of the environments that you're in start showing you more opportunity. And that brings me over to my next point, which is being in rich environments. So now, obviously, we haven't gotten into any of the tactical stuff yet, or like, what is it that'll actually make you a millionaire? The next thing is like awareness and creating this deeper awareness of how much money is out there. First of all, there is over 500,000 people with a $30 million plus net worth. They call it ultra high net worth individuals. And there's 500,000 people that have a net worth of over $30 million. That's a lot of people. And if you're struggling to make 10 grand a month, just you'll realize that there's a lot more money out there. Another statistic is they print on average $541 million per day in the US. And people are struggling to make their first 5 to 10 grand, where you might be struggling first making your first 5 grand a month or whatever. And there's $500,000 printed every single day. There's so much money out there. There's so much, just opportunity out there. And for us to get a small sliver of the pie isn't that crazy. You can make $100 million and nobody would really notice. Like nobody would know who you are. You can make that happens all the time. People make hundreds of millions of dollars. And you probably don't know who they are. And that could be you. And so what I advise, and this is something that I think really helped me out significantly, is I grew up in a place where it was like there was not a whole lot of money. And so maybe you might be a little bit more fortunate than I was, but I grew up in a place where it was like a small little farm town. There was not really much shit going on there. And so it wasn't until that I started to go to different cities and I started to be in areas of wealthy people that I really started to understand it. It was when I first moved over to Scottsdale, Arizona, that when I was in Scottsdale, I was like blown away by, I remember I had this house. It was like 10 minutes away from like this airport there in Scottsdale. There's like a private airport where all these private jets fly into. And when I was sitting there, I would like sit outside, I would lay, by the pool, looking at the sky, and just every 2 minutes, it seemed like a private jet would fly over. Just a plane worth anywhere from like $5 million to 60, $80 million, just flying over every 2 minutes. Just seeing the amount of private jets just all day, just coming and going into that airport was insane to me. And just realizing, holy shit, the amount of people that can afford these private jets. And obviously some of them are probably the same planes, but just over the grand scheme of a day, you would see so many jets fly over. And then also, you'd be there in that environment and the amount of people owning Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Porsches and Mercedes and, all these luxury vehicles are everywhere. And then you start looking at the properties on Zillow and you'll realize how many houses are worth millions of dollars. If you go on Zillow right now and look at a place like Scottsdale or Newport, Laguna, LA, like Hollywood, I'm obviously more West Coast, but Miami, Texas, Florida, New York. You start looking at these places on Zillow and you'll see how many houses are worth millions of dollars, just even $1 million, let alone tens of millions of dollars, that are out there. And you'll realize just how, like, me seeing that helped me realize and understand that there is a lot more to the picture than what I thought previously. And so what I recommend is go into these environments. If you can take a trip, go to like the nicer area. It might be kind of uncomfortable. You may not feel like you belong. And if you don't feel like you belong, then you probably need to be there more and hang out there more. And just being in the environment of all this money and just going to these malls with all these designer stores, seeing what all these people are wearing and just the amount of money that's everywhere, you will realize how much money there actually is in this world. And the amount of like rewiring of my brain chemistry that happened from just being in these environments was insane. And so set goals, be in rich environments, and your goals that you're setting won't seem so crazy as much anymore. So set the intention that you want to be a millionaire by a certain time frame. That might be a lot more expedited than you thought. And just think about it regularly and you'll see these opportunities pop up. So now the third thing. Okay, so how do we actually become a millionaire? So the main thing we want to understand is that cash flow, like you're not going to save your way to $1 million in a quick time. For me, I was doing the math. I was doing the numbers. I was looking at how long it would take for me to become a millionaire, going through the status quo of, what they talk about of working 40 years or whatever and saving up your income and going through that process. And so what I realized is that if I wanted to make $1 million in, let's say, 5 years, you can't just save your way to that. It's just that doesn't add up. And so what you realize is that you need to build cash flow. And so the way that you build cash flow is, if you understand how the machine works, essentially what we do is we go to school to become a cog in the machine. So we get the skill set of becoming, let's say, a computer programmer as per what I was going to school for. And when you become a computer programmer, you get a job and you're essentially a cog in this machine. And so the cog is to a job as is the machine is to a business. And so what you need is a business. The thing that builds cash flow and generates all the income is a business. And so what is a business? A business is something that provides a service or solves a problem in exchange for money. And so this can be a service, or this can be a product, or this could be, a service or a product. And so what you need to do is you need to create a service or a product to be able to build a larger cash flow. And so what I ended up doing is I tried every business out there and every way of generating cash flow out there. And I tried all sorts of stuff. And so here's my recommendation from going through this process is you first want to find something that has a fast ability to make cash, whether or not it's something that you feel is, the craziest thing to get behind or something that you can build like an actual business around it. So for me, how I, started making my first serious income was, I originally did like flipping houses that made me some money. I think that made me my first, like probably 30 grand, 40 grand or so. And then what I ended up doing was I built YouTube channels around, it was like taking content from Reddit and content arbitraging it and making it for YouTube. Now, obviously this isn't something that's, going to be a very stable long-term business, but this arbitrage was something that was able to create me cash flow from, the advertisers that play on YouTube. I was able to make money off the ad revenue, and I was able to get millions of views very quickly because there was already a lot of interest in this content, and there was very, like high value content, as in there was like a lot of entertainment in it. And I was able to make money pretty quickly. Now, this got me to $70,000 a month, but it wasn't sustainable. I was able to pull a lot of skills. I was able to learn a lot of things from this experience. And this was able to get me some cash flow very quickly. And I was able to learn ultimately from the experience. So I was able to make some money decently from it. But very shortly, that kind of faded away. And I then went and built a very long-term evergreen channels, which is what I do now when it comes to faceless YouTube channels. Now I build more branded things in niches like history and travel and technology and space, and creating content that's not already on YouTube, and creating content that is value packed, that is like that people want to see, that is evergreen, that is going to be up for ages and ages without just ripping people's content and arbitraging the content. And so, you might be finding some opportunities where you can make a quick buck and stuff. I think that's a great way to get started, at least to kind of get a good understanding of how things work. And then as soon as you get money from that, then you can take that money and put it into something that's a lot more of a business, something that's a lot more scalable, something that's a lot more long-term minded, and something that's going to be able to work a lot longer. So the main thing is you want to build cash flow. There's so many business opportunities out there. If you want to learn faceless YouTube channels, you can go check out my other channel, Canupa, Become Viral, for that stuff. But, if you just look up on YouTube, if you look up how to make money online, you'll see so many different ways of building businesses. It can be a little bit overwhelming at first, but ultimately just spending time figuring out kind of what's best for you and what you kind of resonate with, and then having an action towards bias. Just taking action on things, you're probably going to pick some business models that, aren't the best. But you will gain, if what isn't monetary gain that you're taking from the experience is experience gain that you're taking, that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life, that you can apply towards other businesses, etc. So that is finding, you need to start a business. You need to find a business that is things that people are doing today and people are making money with it today, and studying what they're doing right now, not studying something that worked 5 years ago or something that worked 10 years ago. You want to find something that's working right now that is helping other people just like you make money, and studying those people and becoming like here's the thing. There's a lot of noise out there on YouTube. And so you could easily go watch all this content. It becomes very overwhelming. Watch it enough to kind of figure out what you want, and then pick one person as your, mentor, your just who you look up to, and study what they do very, very regularly, and just follow the practices that that person teaches. For me, my first thing that I learned was I found them on like a podcast or something like that. They were just like kind of a one-off guest. They didn't really have much of an audience or anything like that. And I was able to build a relationship with them. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the real person that kind of led me the most was someone that was actually like, they owned they were local to my area. I posted in a Facebook group and I was able to connect with them. They had kind of a social media following. They were making like 300 grand a month at the age of, I think, like 34 or something like that. It was some pretty impressive from like where I was going to school at. And I ended up hanging out with that person every single day. After I'd get out of school, I would go hang out with them when I didn't have baseball practice, and they would teach me everything that they had. And I would follow in their footsteps and do exactly what they would tell me to do. So then I could go and make money. And they ended up helping me make my first $50,000 from my own business. So go find somebody, become their, disciple, just do exactly what they tell you to do. And that'll be the best thing for you. And then that brings me over to the next point of that, which is find a group of people that are on a similar path as you. So then you have that accountability. As an example, like I just joined this book club, and inside of there, I see all these other people reading books. I read some books. And once I was inside this club, and then I was kind of talking to the other people that were inside of there, I just saw these people talking about books and the value that they were providing to, they're talking, like posting memes and talking about some of the stuff inside these books they were reading. I realized that I was like, oh, I need to read more so then I can share to the group and contribute just as much as everybody else, if not more. And so creating a group of other people that are on a similar mission as you, that are all trying to make money. You can try to do this with your current friends, but it's kind of hard if they're not in the same level of development as you are. But instead, what you can do is, make friends with people on the internet, find groups, Discord groups, Facebook groups, different communities online, Telegram, etc. And making friends with different people that are inside of these communities and or creating communities or finding communities of people that are on a similar mission as you. So then you guys can help hold each other accountable, contribute to the group, share the lessons that you learn, and I guess mastermind different ideas that you have through your journey. The things that got me to move very fast were like different was a lot of accountability with different groups and stuff, and having these small little groups. So go find a group of people that are on a similar mission as you. So that brings me to my next step, which is my next principle inside of here, which would have saved me a significant amount of time if I just went and through this process. I was pretty good about it. I was always seeking knowledge, but one thing that kind of really withheld me from growing really fast was just my lack of experience and my lack of knowledge. If I had the knowledge previously, like if I grew up reading business books, I feel like I would have had such an easier time understanding all of the different concepts when it comes to business. For when I got into business, I knew nothing about like what marketing was or sales or finance. Like I still barely know how finances work. And as in like, accounting and understanding like different taxes and stuff like that. And so that is something now that I'm learning at this stage, but that is stuff that I could have had like such an easier time with immediately if I just kind of read books on that. Like for me, it took me a very long time to really stack up a lot of cash. Like it was very hockey stick in my career as far as like I didn't become wildly profitable until the later years, until later years of my career. It was a lot of like trial and error until there was like a few things that I was able to kind of like remove the barrier of like just talking to a mentor or reading a book about it. And it was able to unhinge me from, it was able to like unlock this whole new area of my development and allow me to make so much money so much faster with little things like understanding, like I said, how marketing works, how sales, how this kind of like whole fun, like how this whole process of business generally works, because it's all the same. It's just the medium is kind of different. The audience is different. The product is different, but it's all an audience, a product, a solution, a finance team, fulfillment and stuff like that. So if I would have understand that stuff a lot sooner, that would have been helpful. So definitely looking for books. I have videos on this channel talking about the books that I recommend. Definitely, reading, acquiring as much knowledge as you can. Obviously taking action is huge and the most important, and then supplementing that with constant knowledge acquisition. Watching content that is going to help you understand more things, learn more about business, learn more about marketing and these different components of business. And so that brings me to my last part, which is the compounding effect. If, like I said, if it's not money that you're making, it's an experience that you're taking from this situation or what you're going through. And so the main thing is like not giving up, as we were talking about with the RAS earlier, and seeking opportunity. You do need to understand that, this isn't something that's going to happen just overnight, but it can happen much faster than it taking 60 years. And so if you don't see like immediate success, failure is, the teachers. Failure is the thing that helps us understand what is the wrong way to go, and help points us in a direction that is the right way to go. So, the main thing is that a lot of this compounds for me. Most of my income that I've made is within probably the last like 18 months out of the last like 6 or 7 years that I've been chasing after, like that I've been in this. And it's just because of the compounding of the leverage that I've built with, all the content that I've made and all the experiences that I've had, all the skill sets that I've developed, the thousands, tens of thousands of people that I've talked to, the different, conversations that I've had, and the different opportunities that have come across my table to be able to capitalize on. And then just, kind of just all these experiences compound. And so for you, just understanding that like, you're not going to reach perfection right away. And so taking an action towards bias and just constantly making sure that you're taking action and always just seeking opportunities, better ways of doing things, and, kind of looking at the grand scheme of things that, this is just, we're talking 5 years. When you're in your first, like when you first turn 20, you know, time feels like it moves really slow comparatively to when, you're 25. And I've heard when I'm talking to people that are in their 40s and 50s, a year is so much faster than when you were, let's say, like 16 or 17. And if you think about it, when you turn from the age of 19 to 20, that's that's 1/20th of a year in your life versus if you turn from 39 to 40, that's 1/40th of your life. That's, you know, eh, it's twice as fast at that point in your life. You've had twice as many years. It feels twice as fast a year than it did relatively when you were younger. And same if you were turning 59 to 60. It's, what is that? Like a whole, like 3 times faster that it feels when you're that age than when you're younger, just relative to the amount of years that you've lived on this planet. And so understanding that 5 years, it's going to go very quick in the grand scheme of things, but those 5 years are gonna set you up for so much more. And so if you keep your head down, keep focusing for the next 5 years, you're gonna see and you keep constantly looking for opportunity, you get back up when you fail, you keep taking risks, you keep setting your sights on the target, and you keep striving for this, you're going to set yourself up for success, and it will compound. The people that I don't see become rich and make millions of dollars when they're younger are the ones that are just that don't make millions of dollars and aren't successful, are the ones that give up, are the ones that they reach failure and then they're what's the word that I'm looking for? They're paralyzed to keep taking risks and they have to stay with the safe route with comfort and everything. And for me, I always said screw comfort. Comfort is comfort is something that I did not want to be. I did not want to have the normal life. I wanted to be rich fast. I wanted to enjoy my money. And when I studied all these people, when I did all the things that I'm talking about inside this video, I came to the conclusion that the only way for me to do that is to constantly keep taking risks. And I will learn and understanding that I will learn from this entire overall process, whether it be financial. If it's not financial, then it's through experience. And these experiences that I'm going through will make it for a great story for the day when everything is okay and it is all good. And that's how I feel now. It's kind of funny thinking back about how much I was stressing about stuff versus now I'm like, yeah, that stuff was all silly. It wasn't that big of a deal. It felt like it was when I was going through it, but now I'm just like, it's all part of the journey. So, anyways, that's what I got. Go apply the stuff inside this video. My name is Devin Canup. Go watch more of my videos and let's all get rich.